repairing the mica window in your antique coal stove. So we have a antique Penn Franklin Anthracite Stove. These windows are not glass in the front, they are mica, a type of mineral. And one of these windows was actually punched through a few weeks ago, so I take you through how to replace the mica in your antique coal stove. It's very easy to do. I'll show you step by step. So here is our stove. The mica window here has been punched out by one of our many children. So we're going to try and repair this. To do that, we're going to start by taking one of these doors apart. So we've got two doors, and these doors are not solid. If you take, and it might be hard to see, but this is actually set inside. This kind of filigreed metal is set inside a backing, and so the mica windows, I believe, are kind of pressed in between the front and the back. So without tearing the whole thing down and taking these doors off, I'm going to try to remove the front of one of these doors and see if we can get at the mica window to start. Of course, we don't have documentation on this stove because it was made probably somewhere between 1890 and 1910 in another state, and so documentation will be difficult. But what we do have is two screws. So hopefully we'll be able to remove this front plate. There's a screw here. The handle is actually held on by a screw that runs through. So I've got my stubby Phillips head screwdriver. I'm going to reach in here and see if I can disconnect this door. Actually, the first thing I'll do is remove this knob. This has obviously been done before. People have had these doors apart. They've replaced, not with mica, but other lights have been, broken windows have been replaced with metal, it looks like. And so while we're in here, maybe we'll do a couple of these windows. Okay, I've taken the handle off, which was heavily modified. And it looks like I'm able to separate this front from the back. So what I'm going to try and do is remove both this piece of steel here and this broken bit of mica here, and try and replace both of these very carefully without disturbing the other ones, either breaking them or letting them fall out. So I'm just going to open that up a little bit. I'll go for this piece of steel first and see if I can get this. Yeah, that's just a piece of metal in there. Come on, without cutting myself. Okay, so that comes out of there. And this is cool because this is going to give me maybe a size template that I can cut new little mica squares from. And then I'm going to try and get the pieces parts out of here without breaking them. There's a bit of mica. Some of it fell. And then I'll just pull this up very carefully. Try not to lose any of it in there. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to take that, kind of bring that out here. Might ask why I'm not opening this door. It's jammed. That door doesn't open any further than that right now, so we'll take care of that another time. So these are still original mica. I'm not going to go after this one yet. So that's great. I've removed these without having to disassemble the whole stove. That's excellent. I've got a square of metal, which indicates to me about the size of mica we're going to have to cut. So the next thing we're going to do is take new mica sheets and lay out the cut that we're going to make and show how we cut those. So that'll be next. So giving this a closer look, I've learned something. First, I thought we were going to cut little windows like this, and I put one here and one here. And having looked at the piece of the mica that we removed, and then looking more closely at the stove, it doesn't seem like that's the case. What we're going to do is we're going to cut one sheet basically like that. If you look at the top of the doors, you see there are three sheets basically. One here, these long rectangles. So we're going to cut another long rectangle. I've got a mica sheet. I think that will do it. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to get as much width out of it as I can. Maybe cut off the top a little bit so that it sits in there, and then put a hole through there so it's like it was. I'll just put a hole here so the door handle can go back through it. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this out, and then we'll cut it. So here are our sheets of mica. If you've seen mica, it looks like this. This is craft mica. They sell stove mica too. Now this is both craft and stove mica are heat resistant, although having looked at this stuff, kind of wishing I bought the stove mica because I think they give you bigger, more regular pieces when you buy stove mica. I've basically only got 2 sheets in my whole package of mica that are big enough to do what I'm hoping to do. Anyway, so my dimensions for the mica I'm going to cut is about 5.5 by 3.25. Yeah, about 5.5 by 3.25. It doesn't need to be, looking at it, it doesn't need to be cut exactly. So in my first cut here, I'm basically going to get myself as big a rectangle, kind of a roughly regular rectangle as I can. So I'm not going to measure it exactly. I'm going to kind of use this left side as a reference edge and going to mark out here with my square where I'm going to cut. And it left a line, that's good. And then here, down this edge, I'm going to get it roughly square to the bottom. Not entirely, but make it as wide as I can while straightening up this edge. So I'll go ahead and do this, basically. And then I'll take a look at it. You see, I'm kind of eyeballing it here. Yeah, that should be pretty close. So, as you saw, this was kind of about as wide as the old one was. And this will give me just enough room down here to put another hole through the new one. Again, it's not rocket science how you cut this. I'm going to take my straight edge and I'll attempt to get somewhat a nice cut on this. So there's our piece of mica. Let's go over and fit it in the stove and see how we're doing. And if this one is roughly right, then we're going to kind of transfer to this one. Yeah. And cut the other side too, because now that I see how easy this is, we're going to see if we can replace the metal that's on the other door. So let's go and fit this up, see how it looks. So I cut the mica and brought it in and initially found that it was a little bit too tall, so I went back, trimmed it up, and now this ought to fit nicely. I've also cut a second piece to replace this side. So we'll go ahead and shove this in here now and test this and see if it seems to fit well. And I'd say that's not bad. So I think we're going to be good there. Now I'm going to take out this side and put this window in, so I'll do that, and then screw the whole thing together, and we should be in good shape. So our next, probably next to last step is going to be to put the holes through the mica. And I assume you can do this with a drill, so we're just going to do it. Just with a very light touch. See if we go through here without damaging anything until it kind of punches through. Let's see, there it is, there's one. And then we'll do this side. This side's interesting because you see how this hole is shaped so the handle pulls sort of from the side so you can get in here. So I'm just going to kind of follow that direction and just kind of punch it through very easily. And there it is. Alright, so now I'll put the handles in and then we'll close it up and take a look and see how it looks and then provide some final thoughts. So here's the finished product. There are new windows, and these are the old pieces of mica. You see how discolored those are, and these are clear, almost like glass. It really makes a big difference. This project is really simple. So if you've got a stove with old discolored mica, I'd say go out and get yourself some new mica and do this. It just makes a huge difference. The mica is cheap, it's easy to work with. I would say get real stove mica. I had craft mica here. On the installation, you see it seems to have bound up a little bit, so there's this kind of little bubbling here. I'm not going to worry too much about it because this is so simple that I think what I'm going to do is get more stove mica and just then replace all of these. I don't have big enough pieces in the craft mica that I got to replace all of them. So I'm going to leave this for the time being. It looks just so much better the way it is. and then order up some new mica, and then do it again. It's easy and cheap. One other thing I'll note is, you may ask, why are these so discolored? Well, this is an anthracite stove, but I know before we owned it, people burned a lot of wood in here, and the wood will throw off creosote that will darken up these doors. And there are ways to even start a coal fire to avoid having to start a wood fire first. Later on this month, we're going to light this up using a technique that I have not seen anywhere on the internet. I thought it up last year, having seen a number of videos on how to light a stove. So I'll show you how I do it. I think it's a really cool way. Haven't seen anybody else do it this way. It's October here. Things are getting colder, so later on this month we'll do a video on that, and hopefully that'll be really cool. I think people will like that one. So if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. And until next time, thank you very much. Catch you next time.